Today I want to tell a story, but first I want to express here how I am grateful for all of you that had been following me in this channel, in Instagram and here. It's been a great trip so far. And remember, I'm not focused here on likes, on engagement and all that. I'm focused here on leaving a message. That is, if I die today, I would know that there would be this place where I left my opinions, some insights about reality and all that. And I want to say thank you to all of you out there that has been following me in this channel. I really appreciate it, my friends. But today, the message that I want to bring is very simple. A few days ago, I was back in the woods, climbing and all that, and then me and my friend, we found ourselves in the middle of these tall stone walls, limestone walls, and in this place the sunlight only goes through when the trees and the stones and the rock walls are not on the way. That is, the sunlight passes only a few times during the day, because we were in this hidden place, actually hidden by the rocks and all that. But the thing is that at some point I was just looking around, and I was caught by this great image. The sunlight just hit this spider web and made it shine. Remember that spider webs are almost invisible to the naked eye when you look at it really fast, because they're very thin. But when the sunlight hit the spider web, I noticed something very beautiful. It has this perfect circular form. I have never seen that before. The spider web was forming a perfect circle, and the other parts of the web were concentric circles around a center. And in the center was the spider itself. And it was so amazing because it was so fast, because it got my attention. I looked at it for a few seconds, and then the sun moved, and then it became invisible again. It's incredible, man, my friends. And then I asked myself why it had this circular form. Of course, we as humans, we have this capacity to find patterns in nature, in the universe. It's a capacity we have, and it helps us to survive and to understand reality, to create science, for example, by observing the patterns of reality. But when I looked at that circular spider web, I understood something again. The circular form is the form that rules the universe. Not in the sense of being the boss or being what directed, but it is the tendency of the universe. The spiral tendency, the integration tendency. And that is very interesting to think about, my friends, because when I looked at that spider web, the effect it had on me was so immediate and strong that I couldn't look away. I got closer, and as I got closer, the spider began to move in the web to the side. And I was caught by the perfect geometric organization of that web. And that was unique, my friends. And I would never get that view again in that same way. It was like a message from the nature itself, reminding me of something we should never forget. that everything is really mandala. The cycles of existence, the cycles of learning, the cycles of repetition, of adaptation, and the movement of continuity in the universe is ruled by a circular movement. Sometimes I see myself as the crazy guy of the mandalas, but that happens in a funny sense, of course. I'm laughing at myself, but deep down I embraced that understanding as a philosophy, because the microcosmos and the microcosmos, they both work at the same pattern. When we look at astronomy, when we look at science, when we look at industry, when we look at economics, when we look at social aspects, everything happens in cycles. Everything happens in a curve. And that curve, my friends, can teach us a lot about ourselves. Because rigidity is not what should be explored and looked for. On the other hand, what should be understood and grasped is flexibility, is the capability to bend, like space-time bends when it's filled with matter. We as humans have that capacity through our brains to bend ourselves, to adapt ourselves. And that specifically was one of the greatest strengths we have as humans. The capacity to adapt, the capacity to bend our minds, to bend ourselves, to change. Of course, nowadays we see this movement in the opposite way. The conservative movement, the strict movement, to preserve the status quo, to preserve the traditions, the violence, and the destruction of human cooperation. But when we look deeper, we see that the universe is much bigger than ourselves. And whether we want it or not, it will keep spinning and it will keep moving in circles, in cycles. And that's the message of today. Let us find the movement of the universe and let us be part of it harmoniously. After all, everything is mandala.